Maybe I just got scammed, or maybe this has been a mistake. Well, in order for me to find out, I must spend extra money and tighten up my contracts to ensure that I can easily hold those accountable through litigation if I have in fact been scammed. Join me as I dig deep into what I am currently weighing when it comes to questioning the validity of a DNA test that I was sent over for a stud that I worked with. You won't want to miss this. What's up, guys? I'm Aaron with Frenchies. DNA testing for French Bulldogs is a non-negotiable in this business, and even when you are an expert at understanding and breaking down French Bulldog DNA, you are not immune to potential scams as they are ever evolving. This is one reason why I'm a huge proponent of AKC's new DNA program that ties directly into their dog registration database when working with studs, as this will force scammers to find a different way to destroy relationships and buyers' trust. If you don't know about this change, you can click the link at the top right corner and check it out as I go over it in detail. Let me explain to you all my dilemma, and we will find out together if the DNA company made a mistake, or I will have to follow up with the stud owners about the way they are conducting their business. Many pet owners, including myself, have always had some level of skepticism when it comes to breeders, because I understand both sides of it. That's the reason why I try to operate with transparency and the utmost integrity, because if you don't, it eventually catches up to you. We've all heard the horror stories of inaccurate results, and the lack of regulation in the industry certainly doesn't help. It's wild to think that anyone can start a DNA testing company without any real scientific backing or quality control. Some companies claim to test for specific traits or health issues, but how do they really know if these results are trustworthy? That's why it is important that we create this community and share best practices so we can immediately call out individuals that don't operate with the proper standards or companies that produce inaccurate results when dealing with something that's so important to French Bulldog breeding. My first instinct is to always give grace to an individual and go to a potential mistake a company has made, but I go over red flags to look for when doing business with breeders in this video you can view by clicking the link at the top right here. I also go over why I believe breeding partnerships are a recipe for disaster here. I preach to you guys ad nauseum about how DNA is absolute, so we will use this video today to find out if the breeder that I used for a previous breeding is a scammer, or if in fact animal genetics made a mistake. First, let's go over some of the red flags that came up during this process so we can all learn from this going forward. For one, this is the DNA report that I received back from the stud owner pertaining to this dog here. This is an extremely grainy looking report. In an age where cameras and scanners are better than ever, I can't imagine that a screenshot would display this poorly. Should I have gone back to the stud owner and asked them to give me the actual PDF file? Definitely something to consider in the future. To go in further about this particular change I'll make going forward, I called animal genetics to find out exactly what kind of information you are able to obtain about a DNA report. Although they can't give you all the information on the report, you can in fact give them the name of the dog on the DNA report and go line by line in the DNA profile, and they will tell you if the report is a fake or not. If I would have done this, this would have immediately showed that this wasn't in fact a fake DNA report for this particular dog. The second red flag occurred at birth. By now, my antennas are up. My attention was fully grabbed when the puppies were born, and not just because they were three absolutely gorgeous girls, but I am cursed with knowledge when it comes to French Bulldog DNA, so I know for certain that my female doesn't have pied in her DNA. She was an in-house production from two dogs that I already own, so I can absolutely trace her DNA back and see that it is accurate. Going back to the stud owner's report, they also claim not to have any pied either, as you can see here. Why would I see pied clearly visible on the chest of two of these puppies if this report is in fact real? I went over the third red flag, which you can see by clicking on this video in the top right. But basically what happened was I tried to register my litter with the AKC on the second day the puppies were born and received a message that all breeders got from the AKC months ago about getting an AKC sponsored DNA test. As you can see here, they simply weren't having it. What the AKC is trying to do is tie studs that have performed 3 breedings in a year or 7 over their lifetime to the AKC database, which should prevent potential scams like the one that I may have been a part of via DNA fraud. The fourth red flag is just the overall lack of accountability when it came to getting the issues fixed. These guys had no issue taking my cash up front, but for some reason had an issue with forking out $150 to pay for a test that they knew they had to take months before they ever gotten to this point. They spent a lot more time trying to tell me what a money grab it was from the AKC than they did trying to offer a solution or even apologize for the issue that they caused. When I finally got one of the owners to commit to a date that they would start the process of getting this taken care of, I actually took all of the steps to find out exactly what was involved in the process by using my future stud and doing exactly what I expected of them. You can find the information for this video by clicking the link at the top right. From beginning to end, this process took exactly 4 weeks for me to get the results back, which locks me into their database. Since I like to show receipts, I informed the stud owner of my progress and showed him proof that I had my results back, only for him to inform me that he still hasn't performed the mouth swab. This kind of clown behavior is very frowned upon in the Frenchie community, and I want to keep things professional, so I'm not going to call out any names, but anyone doing business with someone who moves this way should follow up and make sure they spend their money elsewhere going forward. I've explained to you guys in the past that one red flag, while it calls for concern, is not always a reason to back out of a deal. But looking at this entire transaction retroactively, it was clear to me that I should have dug deeper and demanded more out of the stud owner before giving my cash. Totally my mistake, but I can assure you that it will never happen again, and I hope you are watching this video still to learn from my mistakes and move different going forward. So, there's a lot to learn about this situation, which is why I wanted to share with you guys. The puppies are almost 4 weeks old, and I received the results from Animal Genetics, and here are the results. If you guys have subscribed to my page and following my videos, it's a pretty clear conclusion that I have been scammed, and I will take action in the appropriate way to rectify the situation. This video is not the place to go over what or how I will go about doing that, but we must take further actions to protect ourselves, starting with ensuring your studs and stud owners that you do business with gets the AKC DNA test, and that we are all transparent in giving this information to people you are doing business with. Not only have I produced puppies that have DNA that doesn't match what my vision was, not only have I also introduced fawn to my camp, while nothing being wrong with it was not what I paid for or planned for and expected. I have also introduced one copy of CY3 Variation 2 to my camp because of this. This is a recessive gene that takes 2 copies to show in dogs and affects males at a rate of about 10 to 1 that have 2 copies, but it is still something that I didn't plan for that I have to deal with now. When you really think about it, DNA testing for pets is still a relatively new and largely unregulated field. So kudos to the AKC for trying to get some regulation and prevent potential DNA fraud. There are so many variables at play, and it's scary to think that our pets' health might be affected by inaccurate or misleading information. I'm not saying that all DNA testing is inaccurate, or there are lots of breeders out there committing DNA fraud, but what I am saying is we need to be aware of the potential pitfalls and take a closer look at companies and breeders we're trusting with our pets' genetic information. This situation could have been much worse, as potentially they were hiding more genetic defects by giving me a fake DNA report, causing me to have produced a litter of pups that can pass on these traits that we simply don't want in this breed. I am fortunate to have learned this lesson and have the platform to be able to share with you, as being proactive in preventing this in the first place is much more important than calling these breeders out in an emotional Facebook post. Anybody else have any horror stories when it comes to DNA fraud? If so, please feel free to share in the comments below. If you're interested in learning more about French Bulldog breeding in better detail, please consider joining my membership, which you can find in the first link in the description below this video. Also, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my page. Thanks for watching.